Hey everyone, and welcome. We're diving into the slight edge today. A really fascinating look at how those small, everyday choices we make can end up shaping our lives. It's not always about those big, dramatic changes, but rather the subtle things we do consistently that really add up over time. Kind of like, when you find a penny on the sidewalk and you're like, okay, 1 cent, not a big deal. But imagine if you could double that penny every single day. Just imagine where you'd be after a month.
That's the power of compounding, and it's really at the core of what the slight edge is all about. It's not about finding some magic formula for overnight success or anything like that. It's about understanding how these small actions, even the ones that seem insignificant in the moment, can create huge changes over time.
And it's interesting because the author, Jeff Olson, he actually lived this philosophy. I mean, he went from really struggling to make ends meet, we're talking, like beach bum status, to building a multi-million-dollar empire. It's pretty incredible.
Right. And the point of his story isn't that he got lucky or anything, or that he had some incredible talent that nobody else has, is that he consistently applied these principles, these slight edge ideas, day after day. And look at the results he was able to achieve because of it.
So let's break this down a little bit more. We're essentially talking about these simple disciplines, things anyone can do, but the real key is to repeat them consistently, day after day, week after week. And that's where the real magic starts to happen.
And the best part is this applies to literally every area of your life.
Yeah.
Health, your finances, relationships, your career, even just your overall sense of well-being.
Right. So it's bigger than just, say, making more money or being successful in your career, though those things can certainly be a part of it. It's really about cultivating this richer, more fulfilling life overall.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the book talks about this great analogy of the water hyacinth. You know how sometimes the simplest things can be the most powerful.
I'll admit I had to look that one up. I wasn't exactly a botany major. But tell me more. What's so special about this water hyacinth?
Well, imagine a single water hyacinth, right?
Yeah.
Just one in a pond.
Mm-hmm.
Seems harmless enough, right? But here's the thing. This little plant, it doubles in size every single day. So now imagine a few weeks go by. That one tiny plant, because it keeps doubling, it ends up covering the entire pond, crowding out everything else. It's pretty wild.
Okay, wow, that's a pretty powerful image. So even though day to day it seems like it's only growing a little bit, over time those little bits add up.
Exactly. And that's the thing about the slight edge. It can be kind of sneaky. It's really easy to dismiss those small actions, those little things we do each day. And this goes for both the positive and the negative, by the way, because we don't see a huge immediate impact. Like, we eat a piece of cake and we don't suddenly gain 5 pounds, right?
Right. So you're saying this compounding effect, it works both ways. So just like those positive things we do add up over time, those not so great habits, those times we choose the easy way out, those have a cumulative effect too.
Exactly. And a good example of this is our finances. Let's say someone invests a small amount of money each month, even if it's just $50. Over time, thanks to the magic of compound interest, those little contributions grow into a significant amount.
Yeah, like that friend of ours who retired early because they were really consistent about putting money into their IRA every month, even if it wasn't a ton of money. Small actions, big results.
But now, flip that around for a sec.
Yeah.
Imagine someone who, instead of investing that $50, they use it to grab a fancy coffee every month. Seems harmless enough, but over time, that's not just the money they've spent on the coffee, it's also all the potential growth they've missed out on from investing it.
Yeah, it's like those small choices, they have this ripple effect. And it's not just about money or finances, right? It makes you think about your health, your relationships, all those seemingly insignificant choices we make every day that ultimately shape the kind of life we end up living.
And that's where this idea of future focus comes in, which Olson talks a lot about in the book. It's about like really shifting our mindsets away from this instant gratification thing that's so prevalent these days, you know?
So instead of focusing on those immediate results, or lack thereof, we need to keep our eyes on the prize, so to speak.
Right.
Yes. It's about really visualizing your goals as if you've already achieved them. And don't just think about it, like really feel it. What does it look like to have achieved that goal? How does it feel? Can you taste it? You know what I mean? Yeah. If we can really create that emotional connection, that visceral experience of our future selves, having already achieved what we're working towards, it just makes it so much easier to make choices today that are in alignment with that vision.
Absolutely. You know how they say energy flows where attention goes?
Uh-huh.
When we focus on those positive outcomes, when we really visualize what we're working toward, it helps us stay motivated, helps us overcome those times when we start to doubt ourselves.
It's so true, because I can think of times when I've gotten discouraged and given up on something because I wasn't seeing the results right away. But if I'd really had that clear vision in mind, that emotional connection to what I was working toward, maybe things would have turned out differently.
It's so common though, right? It's such a human thing, especially in today's world where everything is so instant. We want to see those results right away. But the reality is, it's those small, consistent actions, those slight edge decisions we make day in and day out that create the real momentum, even if we can't always see it at first.
So maybe patience really is a virtue.
Big time. And that's where this other really powerful concept from the book comes in, slight edge integrity. It's about those moments when we choose to do the right thing, even when nobody's watching. Even when it would be easier to take the shortcut, you know?
Okay, tell me more about this whole integrity thing. It sounds like it's even deeper than just being honest, right?
Yeah. It's about the choices we make when we think no one is looking. It's like choosing to go for that run when you could easily just hit the snooze button instead, or staying late to make sure that project is really great, even though it means missing happy hour with your coworkers.
So it's about building that inner strength, that self-discipline, right? By consistently making those choices that are in alignment with our goals, even when nobody's around to give us a pat on the back.
Exactly. And those small acts of integrity, those times we choose the harder right over the easier wrong, they build up over time. They create this foundation of self-trust that's really powerful.
Because we're proving it to ourselves, right? That we're actually committed, that we're willing to do what it takes even when it's not easy.
Yes. And having that self-trust, that belief in ourselves, it's crucial because it gives us the confidence to keep going when things inevitably get tough. Because let's face it, they will. But we've proven to ourselves that we're capable of taking action, even when it's hard.
This is really resonating with me. So we've talked about consistency, future focus, integrity. What else can we do to really tap into the power of the slight edge?
Well, Olson also talks a lot about the importance of our environment, the people we surround ourselves with. He calls it the law of association. And it basically states that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with.
Right, right. I've heard that before. It's one of those sayings that always stuck with me, even if it sounded a bit simplistic at first. But it's true when you really think about it. Who we spend our time with, that really shapes our thoughts and beliefs, even our behaviors.
100%. I mean, if you're constantly surrounded by people who are negative or cynical or doubtful, it's going to be a lot harder to maintain a positive outlook yourself.
It's like they say, you can't soar with eagles if you're hanging out with turkeys.
Exactly. But if you surround yourself with people who are positive and supportive, growth-oriented, their energy, their enthusiasm, it rubs off on you.
So choosing our social circle intentionally, that's a big part of it too. It's about being mindful of who we're letting into our inner circle, making sure those relationships are a source of support, encouragement, inspiration.
Absolutely. And this actually ties in really well with the concept of mentorship, which can be a total game changer when it comes to, really stepping into our potential. Having someone who has already achieved what you want to achieve and being able to learn from their experience.
It's like having a roadmap, right? You don't have to figure everything out on your own. You can learn from someone who's been there, done that, avoid the common pitfalls.
Right. And a good mentor can offer guidance. They can support you, hold you accountable. They can offer a new perspective on your challenges and help you stay motivated when you hit those roadblocks, which, you inevitably will.
Finding a mentor, it sounds amazing, but I think it can also feel kind of intimidating, to be honest. Like, how do you even go about finding a mentor who's the right fit for you?
That's a great question. And it doesn't have to be this formal, scary thing. It's not always about sending out cold emails to CEOs you admire. Although if you have the chance, go for it.
Right. Reach for the stars. But it can be a little less daunting than that.
Absolutely. Start by looking at the people who are already in your life. Is there someone you work with who you admire, maybe the way they handle challenges or their work ethic? What about a friend or a family member who seems to have really mastered an area of their life that you'd love to improve in?
It's about recognizing those sources of wisdom and inspiration that are often right there in front of us.
Exactly. And the key is to look for people who embody the qualities that you aspire to develop in yourself. And remember, mentorship is a two-way street. Be ready to offer something in return, whether it's your time or your skills or just your genuine interest in learning from them.
Oh, I love that. The most fulfilling relationships are definitely the ones where there's that mutual respect, a willingness to both give and receive.
Absolutely. And even if you don't have a formal mentor right now, you can still benefit so much from just surrounding yourself with positive influences. Join a group or club, attend a conference or workshop, or simply make more of an effort to connect with people who inspire you.
Create that environment that supports you, right? That challenges you to grow and step outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly. And that brings us right back to the core message of the slight edge, right? Success isn't this one big event, this magical destination you arrive at. It's those small, consistent choices we make each day that over time lead us to where we want to go.
So to sum it all up, we've talked about consistency, future focus, integrity, association, and mentorship. Those are like the 5 pillars of the slight edge. But of course, just knowing about them isn't enough. The real magic happens when we actually start putting these principles into practice in our own lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be overwhelming, right? Start by picking one area of your life that you really want to focus on improving, and then choose just one small action that you can take each day to move you closer to where you want to be.
Make it something so simple, so doable, that you really have no excuse. And then here's the key. Do it again tomorrow. And the next day. And the next. Just keep showing up for yourself, even in those small ways.
Exactly. And you know what? As you start to see those small wins add up, it creates its own momentum. It fuels your motivation to keep going, to take on even bigger challenges. That's the beauty of it.
It's like that snowball effect we talked about earlier. It may start small, but it just keeps building and building. So as we wrap up our deep dive here, I want to leave you with this question. What is one small, seemingly insignificant action you can take today that, if you repeated it consistently, could have a truly profound impact on your life 5 years from now? What's one tiny step you can take today that could lead to amazing results down the line? Think about it, write it down, and most importantly, take action. Until next time. It's about recognizing those sources of wisdom and inspiration that are often right there in front of us.
Exactly. And, when you're thinking about the qualities you're looking for in a mentor, the key is to find people who embody the things you want to cultivate in your own life. People who are, a few steps ahead of you on the path you want to be on. And don't forget, mentorship.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street. Be ready to offer something in return. It doesn't have to be anything major. Your time, your skills, even just your genuine interest in learning from them.
Right. It's about that mutual respect, that willingness to both give and receive. That's what makes any relationship strong, right?
100%. And hey, even if you don't have someone you'd consider a formal mentor right now, you can still gain a lot by just being intentional about surrounding yourself with positive influences in general. Join a group, go to a conference, or just make more of an effort to connect with people who inspire you.
Create that supportive environment that encourages you to grow, right?
Exactly. And that brings us right back to that core message of the slight edge. Success isn't this one big event, this finish line you cross. It's about those small, consistent choices we make every single day that ultimately determine where we end up.
So to recap, consistency, future focus, integrity, association, and mentorship. These are the 5 pillars of the slight edge. But of course, just knowing about them isn't enough, right? The real magic happens when we actually apply these principles, see how they work in our own lives.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be this big, overwhelming thing either. Start with one area of your life you want to improve, just one. And then think about one small action you can take today to move you in that direction.
Something so simple, so doable that you have absolutely no excuse not to do it. And then, here's the important part. You do it again tomorrow, the next day, and the next. You just keep showing up for yourself, even in those small ways.
It's all about building that momentum, one small win at a time. And as you start to see those wins add up, it fuels your motivation, gives you the confidence to take on bigger challenges. That's the beauty of the slight edge.
It's like that snowball effect, right? It might start small, but it keeps building and building. So as we wrap up our deep dive today, I want to leave you with this. What's one small, and I mean seemingly insignificant, action you can take today that, if you did it consistently, could have a huge impact on your life 5 years from now? What's that one tiny step you can take today to create the future you want? Think about it, write it down if you need to, and most importantly, take action. And until next time, keep making those slight edge choices that make all the difference.